Hi, this is Moby. Welcome to The Fire Show. Hello, welcome to The Fire Show. Let me tell you a story. During South by Southwest this year, I was waiting around a bar and started chatting to a guy next to me. All because he just had a really cool white cowboy hat. You don't see that often, like a white cowboy hat. And a minute or two about talking about Austin and South by Southwest and what he was doing here, I just kind of asked him what he did. Turned out, Dave was the director of video strategy for Circa News, a video-driven news platform. And it just so happened that I was interviewing people about social media strategy at South by Southwest for this show. So, I invited Dave to come in 2 days later into the studio, and boom, we recorded this interview. In this episode, we build a fictional company and do a case study on how we can build out its video strategy for maximum brand awareness, customer interest, and eventually revenue. It's perfect if you have a company or brand that you want to drive more attention to using video, which right now is king. So I'm glad I have this opportunity with Dave to do this. So a little bit about Circa and Dave, outside of the fact that he likes dope hats. Circa is an online news platform which was started in 2012 as a video-driven iOS app. It was acquired in 2015 by Sinclair Broadcast Group, a telecommunication company with the largest number of stations and TV coverage in the States. Circa's ideology is to present information with no spin and just present facts so that target audience, young adults 18 to 35, can form their own opinions. On multiple media bias fact-checker websites, Circa is rated as high for its factual reporting. And then Dave. Dave, who you can find on Twitter or Instagram as @Trausneck, that's Trausneck. Dave started off as a sports editor at a student newspaper. Then he moved on to become a producer, then an executive producer at multiple TV stations. Later, he used his experience in news to transition into social media management for the Sinclair Broadcast Group. I moved from assistant manager to manager and now director of all social media for Circa News. I'm glad that I kind of just ran in today. We had a conversation, and now we have this episode for you. I hope using this knowledge that Dave drops and I just kind of poke at, you fucking kill it for your company or brand. Ladies and gents, this is Moby, and enjoy. Hi, Dave.
Hey, how's it going, Moby?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
Tell us how we met.
So we met a couple nights ago, just here during South by. I was here with a couple of my friends, just in the Vinyl Lounge. It's got a name, I'm sure, but...
Is that the name?
I don't know. I just call it the Vinyl Lounge because instead of a library of books, you have a library of vinyl.
Yes.
And it's just it's a cool space. I'm surprised that there weren't any events happening that night just during South by. It's usually rented out the last couple of years when I've been here. But yeah, we're just getting a drink at a bar, and it was a hat that I was wearing.
Exactly.
It was a Western hat, and
the white hat, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The hat plays, as I like to tell my boss. He always looks at me. He's like, I can never wear it. You're the kind of person that could actually wear that. And struck a conversation. You're like, oh yeah, I've got a podcast. Like, would you love to join? I'm like, of course. Yes. Just connecting people with content and just discussing brands and ideas and ways for people to work smarter, not harder.
True. I had a conversation with someone yesterday. This is completely off topic from what we're going to talk about. But he talked about business relationships, and he talked about how your walking conversion rate and small things you do can actually help convert people, which is if you want them to like you, if you want them to be offended, if you want them to want your car, blah, blah, blah. And small things matter, and your hat really changes your personal walking conversion rate a lot because people are like, hey, nice hat. What do you do? Stuff like that.
Exactly. It's a conversation starter more than anything else. Could be simple also like a lapel pin or a pocket square or something along those lines. Or, I'm just thinking more from the male perspective. I'm sure, with females, especially now in the Me Too movement, our time is up. You have to be very careful of what you say and how you say it. Yes. And, you don't necessarily mean to offend anybody or come across, but I don't know if the same would come across as a male to a female, like, oh, I really like your handbag. I mean, I'm sure it's a very innocuous, thing, but I think from a male to a female, it's a little bit different. I think from a male to a male perspective. And it's not to, say that females don't also have those opportunities or make those same interpersonal connections, at the same types of events. But as a male and talking to a female, it's just like, I'm not coming on to you. It's like, I'm interested in like who you are and your ideas. And, let's just have a conversation because who knows? It could be a great brand partnership or something along those lines. So.
Exactly. When I used to have a bigger beard, the most compliments I got were from dudes. 90%.
Okay.
And I give compliments to dudes all the time because it's so easy. It's like, hey, dude, nice shirt. Someone should say that to dudes sometime. Anyway, let's talk about what we're here today.
Sure, absolutely.
So, you're a social media director and video strategy director. Directors?
I think my official title is Director of Social Media at Circa.com. But really my unofficial is Head of Video Content and Social Media Strategy.
Yes.
With like a little bit of marketing in there and, web content. It's just kind of working a jack of all trades, if you will.
Yes, and which is great because that's what we want to talk about. Question for you, obviously. How has the world of video changed in news consumption in your target audience over the last 5 years?
Oh, wow. Last 5 years, it's almost kind of a paradigm shift. When you're looking at journalism specifically, you had print, and then you went to radio, and then you went to television, and then you went to the web. And now with social media and mobile specifically, the screen has definitely shrunk. And it's also, from our parents' generation to even our grandparents' generation, it was always appointment-based television watching for news.
Yeah.
You would have your local news at 6 p.m., maybe your late news, and then you would have your, depending on your time zone, you would have your national news. And that's basically how you got it. And now everything is on demand. So as a publisher and as a content provider, you have to remember it's not about when you want people to see your content. It's understanding that they're going to see it whenever they want to.
Yes.
So whatever content that you're publishing, that is your front page. How are you going to cut through the noise and how are you going to basically reach them that's going to be different from every other news publisher or content brand that's out there? So you have to go strong every single time. And I think as well with coming from a broadcasting background, you have your Nielsen data or your ComScore data, which is still a guesstimation of audience and how many people we're reaching and how many people are taking action on our content. Whereas on digital, it's all quantified. And you can see exactly how many, people that you reach, how many people engage with your content. And that data, it can drive you berserk at times, but it can also help you make, and really the end goal is to make better content decisions by looking at that data. And I think publishers that are doing it well and people that really understand the space, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, any other platform that's out there, it's looking at that data and be like, okay, this over time is working very well for us. Let's look to do that more. I don't think I've ever run into somebody who's ever said, hey, let's keep doing that thing that's not working well for us. And I think coming from a news and publishing background, especially with broadcasters, it's almost they saw social media as an opportunity to basically take their on-air product to social and digital. And it doesn't really play that way. When you're thinking of a 30-minute newscast or an hour-long newscast, we were just talking about attention spans. The average video, if it is still 7 seconds on Facebook for the average video watch time and the average attention span of a fruit fly, you have 7 seconds. What are you going to do with that? That's going to, now it's not to be outlandish or be clickbaity because that's not what video publishers should be doing anyways, but it's always getting back to that content of value. And if you can provide content that no matter when people see it on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, etc., they take value on it. They can engage with it. And it's not going to happen with every single video, especially with a news and publishing company. We deal so much with live because of breaking news and events that are happening. But there's still an importance if somebody sees it hours later on Facebook, it just shows up in their timeline. If it still serves a value, if they didn't know about the event, like the package explosions here in Austin the other day. You have people walking around South by probably oblivious because it's happening so far outside and kind of in the suburbs a little bit. You still have that opportunity even though that content may be a little older. So it's more of something that's exclusive, I think, to news and publishers than maybe a traditional, content brand.
How would you say, what are the parameters you put on content to make it valuable?
I would say something that informs, enlightens, entertains, empowers, or directs. Basically, delivering a call to action through your content. What are you looking to get people to do? Obviously, as a digital publisher, we want people to go to our website. We want the clicks there. But at the same time, if it's maybe, say, branded content that we do with a partner, maybe it's something food related or travel, lifestyle, culture related, it's getting people to be aware of that particular brand that we're partnering with. So it's amplifying reach and engagement. So it's basically putting more eyeballs on our partner there. So it's really understanding your objective first, and then understanding where your content and how can you marry those two in the best way, shape, or form. Sometimes you'll hit home runs, other times you'll strike out, and that's totally fine. Yep. Don't be afraid of failure. But again, look at that data and understand it's just like, okay, from that data, we can tell this story. And it's just making sure that you're creating compelling content that, whether it's on a phone, on a tablet, on a desktop, or even on connected TVs, you're basically providing something that plays very well, no matter what screen it's on, no matter when people come across it.
So as a news publication, how do you walk the line between, for example, if you were to tell a story extremely fact-based without any call to action, if you were to hypothetically reach 100 people who would watch the whole thing, versus if you would put not a twist on it, but perspective on it, on a piece of news, and it would reach 1,000 people. How do you walk that line between we're going to report the facts or we're going to report our perspective on it? I don't know much about how the back end of that works. And every publication does have a mission to exist and push a part of how they believe the world should work, because that's what humans do. But how do you walk that line?
Yeah, I mean, as a news and as a journalist, you want to be as down the middle as possible. Especially, there's going to be news and brands and publications that have a specific bias and slant, and that's their brand, that's their core mission, and they're going to deliver that content to that specific audience. And for them, it works. But if you're basically trying to be a general news brand and present, just quality content that's video driven, it's about being down the middle as possible. It's just telling a really great story. If it's a little more to the left, that's okay. If it's a little more to the right, that's okay. It's telling that great story and always providing that value because, you can't please everybody. Nor should you, because it's impossible. Yes. Whether you're a news publisher, we have people in the comments, they call it, they accuse us of being libtards, and then the next comment, they accuse us of being Nazis. So, if I have that range of spectrum, that means I'm probably hitting down as close to down the middle as I can, which, it's taking a brand and seeing that, you hate to see those kind of comments because you want people to also provide value in the comments. How can they engage with your content in a way that's civil, provides discourse and dialogue, and it's not trolls or hate mongering or anything like that? And especially as a news brand, you have to be, wary of that and moderate that as much as possible. But to your point of like walking that line, it's about having great content and great video and telling a great story first, and then looking at it, if we're telling a really great story, if it leans a little bit one way or the other, that's okay. We're telling a great story and it fits our objectives in terms of almost kind of a call to action in terms of whether it's empowering or enlightening, entertaining, etc. I think we've evolved past the core tenets of journalism. I mean, they're still key to us as journalists, in terms of, delivering on both sides of the story. But sometimes there's not going to be two sides. When you're doing lifestyle or entertainment content, it's maybe not going to be both sides, and that's okay. Again, tell that great story first.
Absolutely. And I went to a panel. Well, I said this before. I went to a panel. I was 55 minutes late. So I watched 5 minutes of it. But me and my friend went because we wanted to meet the people. And then we hung out with them after for an hour. And they were all talking about data visualization. That's what their panel was about. And one of them did a story on abortion. And we talked about it a lot, which was they were right in the middle. And they posted it on Twitter. And both sides, pro and against, used that data to say, this is why I have this view. And that's what actually good journalism does, which is it allows people to see the facts and then, of course, have their own interpretation of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to provide information and source it factually, and make sure that, your data is down the middle as possible. You're not taking it from a partisan organization who's already going to skew it for their own beliefs. Yeah. You basically just want to take the data and just here's the news, here are the facts, And then, if your organization wants to skew those however way you want to, that's your choice. That's not our choice to do that for you. Yeah. We're just providing you the information.
So let's shift gears completely.
Sure.
And let's try to build a 6-month video strategy for a content company. We're just going to make up, pick a name for a content company.
Goshman.
Goshman.
Goshman. Okay.
Goshman is the name of the company.
Okay.
And we serve people, let's say Goshman. We serve 22 to 25-year-old males in cities about pick something.
Cities above 150,000 people.
Yes. And we talk about shirts.
Okay.
For example. Because I saw your shirt. Nice shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so someone's come up to you and they've hired you and whatever and say, or you're a consultant and said, okay, we want to start a video strategy. We have no expertise. How do we even start thinking about our video strategy over the next 6 months?
Sure. So it's about understanding who's your target audience. Who are you looking to reach first? Like, what are your goals? What are your objectives? And then building your strategy from there. So let's say, the target audience is men 23 to 35, college educated in cities above $150,000 people who make between $25,000 and $100,000 a year. So you're looking at everybody from probably just starting out right out of college to people who are, professionals, managers, perhaps even director level people, and they're looking at shirts. So, okay, cool. So that's our target audience and who we're looking to get. Okay. Now let's look at other brands who may be competing in that space. What are they necessarily doing? Not to copy them, but they're probably doing something to reach that audience that's successful because they're already in that space. So basically mapping that out. Okay, they're doing this, but I think maybe some missed opportunities may be here. Or maybe I see them super focused on Facebook and Twitter, but they're nowhere on Instagram or they're nowhere on YouTube. So okay, it's getting all of that data first. And basically, you're almost like a journalist. You're asking these questions and getting all of that data first. Okay. And then you almost kind of do a strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And okay, these companies are doing...
Thank God someone said that. It's been a while since I've heard someone say
SWOT?
That. Yeah.
So basically, you almost do a preemptive SWOT analysis. Obviously, you're going to create your goals and your mission and what you're looking to get out of it. Okay, cool. We have this specific content, or we have this specific, brand. Cool. So from a video standpoint strategy, what are we looking to do? Are we looking to make like 10 to 15 second videos in terms of, highlighting the product? What is the call to action? Do you want, if you're selling shirts, you want people to buy that product. Okay, what are the platforms that right now deliver the ability to reach an audience organically through great content, but also through a very sound paid campaign strategy, which I think a lot of startups, you have high level thinkers in terms of, the leaders of the company who they're like, oh, we'll make viral videos. Okay, you don't make viral videos. Yeah. The only people that make viral videos are people that have these massive audiences and YouTube stars, like Dude Perfect, for example. They make viral videos because the video content that they created originally was so epic that it went viral. It went trending. And I say the word viral. I prefer to use the word trending because viral, I think, has just been way overplayed. Yes. So you make content that's trending in feeds and it's shareable. You want to deliver content with a message and a strong call to action there. And you also want it to be people focused. We're all people first. And how are we going to resonate with each other? So what is it that your shirt does that's different than everybody else? Is it made from sustainable fabrics? Is there a story behind the people that make that shirt? Focus on that. Is there a core mission about the company and the people behind it in terms of that message? Because it's the human connection that's going to really connect us all together first. The product that you're selling is just almost a vehicle to connect that brand in the final transaction.
So based on what you said, so let's break this down. Number one is understanding and putting parameters on your market, which is like, okay, who they are. And number two, mapping out how other people in your competition, in your space, are reaching out to them and doing a SWOT analysis. And then figuring out, okay, based on the channels that are being used, why are they being used by your competition? Are they working? And what platforms are not being used? Or where does your competition suck? And then thinking about, what's that step after that, which you talk about understanding what they want. Do you highlight in videos, for example, how you're better than everyone else, or do you just kind of play to the market's needs? How would you think about even the creative behind the content?
Yeah, it is a creative, and just like that message is are our shirts just cool as shit, and we're basically just going to create a message and a theme behind it that our stuff is just this fucking cool so that's going to be our message, or is it going to be more people based and more responsibility based? Just think about, what are you trying to do? How are you trying to project yourself as a company to even people outside of the space? Because everybody can be so nuanced and think about the tunnel vision inside their own space in terms of their own kind of ecosystem and their brands, but they almost sometimes lose the forest through the trees. That you're not trying to necessarily reach everybody in the same space or in the same market, but you're trying to reach people outside of that as well to help grow your company.
And based on what you said, and I believe this too, which is, if you're making content to reach your customers, because that's where revenue comes from, and if you don't get enough revenue, your company dies. So people making the content either have to be extremely in touch with the founders of the company or who are setting the mission, because you can't have content around a narrative without the company defining itself and saying, this is what we stand for, this is our positioning, this is the market, and this is how we're going to say to any person, regardless if that's on video, in person, in an audio ad, this is why you should buy what we have.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's, to that end, really delivering that strong, call to action and that responsible message. Gone are the days of, your traditional kind of, I call it coupon advertising that was in print that then went into television in terms of, the standard commercials that we see. Now you have to think beyond that. How are you going to really market your content to people so that they take action and buy your product? Yeah. So it's not like, buy 3 shirts for, $100. It's, this special sale. There's a time and a place for that. And that may be more on the email marketing side, but on the video side, it's me like, probably not necessarily the content that's going to get the most play, because when you look at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they're all algorithmic now. And, especially Facebook and Facebook owns Instagram. Twitter's also algorithmic. They have the in case you missed it, and, tweets from hours before. So with video content, the stronger the content is, the more that people are going to engage with it. They're going to they're going to react to it. They're going to comment. They're going to share it. That makes your content almost algorithm proof to an extent. Yeah. So no matter if Facebook changes the algorithm that devalues publishers and, emphasizes friends and relatives that they did, and they changed it back. Thankfully,
they changed it back?
Well, yes. They basically said, we made a mistake and people don't want 2 separate news feeds. So basically, and even as a news brand and a publisher, we saw a decline in reach. We saw a decline in engagement, and it also affected our ability to drive web traffic, despite, having great organic content and having great paid campaign strategies. It wasn't just us, you can see the evidence across the board for other media and publishers. But then, okay, cool. If there's changes with that, how do you evolve? How do you pivot? And it's about having people who understand, okay, cool, this is happening. Let's not, panic or rush to judgment. Let's look at what the data tells us. And do we pivot to a different platform in a different way and put more of our marketing campaigns and strategy behind that? It's totally fine. You have to be nimble. You have to be flexible. You have to do it on a moment's notice, because if you're still doing the same strategies that you were doing 6 months prior, a year prior, you're having outdated strategies because these platforms evolve so quickly.
So let's dive into the technical. Then we've had these discussions. We've talked about the competition. We've talked about what our company stands for, the message you want to get across. And we decide that we're going to do 30-second clips about shirts. How do we start thinking about the creative, which is, should we have text? And this is generalist video stuff that I'm learning about too, which is, since people's attention spans are so small, and Facebook, most people do not watch video with audio.
Right.
We should have text, and correct me, and we should probably change angles every 3-4 seconds just so people get. What other principles should we have?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say text on screen is huge. I mean, as you just brought it up, I can't remember the exact percentage, but I would say it's roughly maybe 70%. And if somebody from Facebook is listening to this podcast and they want to correct me, just tweet me at Trausneck. But it's around 70%, I believe, of Facebook videos are watched without audio. So you want to have strong text on screen. You want to also, have good font for your text. That's one thing. If you're trying to reach people,
Comic Sans?
No Comic Sans.
Damn it.
So you might just want to delete that from your computer. Or if you're really trying to just, make, people laugh, maybe you do it with Comic Sans. Okay. It's just like, maybe you call your company Comic Sans. I don't know.
True.
Gosh,
man, Comic Sans.
Yeah, Gosh, man, and Comic Sans.
Cool.
You want to have vibrant text. You want to have powerful images from the start. Again, when you're thinking about those first 7 seconds, you want to be able to capture somebody's attention. So if you have kind of a boring graphic slate kind of at the beginning that doesn't really jump out at people, then you're probably going to you might get a 3-second video view, which is what Facebook, what they count as the official video view is 3 seconds. You might get that, but you might see a huge drop off at like 4 or 5 seconds. And by that time, you have said nothing about your brand. Yeah. So it's about getting people's attention right off the jump in the first 5 seconds. And then after that, okay, I've got your attention. What am I doing now? Are you telling a story? Are you delivering a message? Are you empowering people to feel a certain way or to, to bring attention there? So you want to edit, not have quick edits. So it's just so quick that your eyes are all over the place and your attention span's even shorter and you don't know what's happening. But at the same time, just, great audio, obviously, so if people are listening to it with audio, it's so clear. It's not, you don't have a music bed that's too high or anything along those lines, but you're delivering strong text, with maybe some alternating color text to, highlight key words or phrases or something along those lines, having those strong visuals to really drive eyeballs onto that as well. I would say also either shooting square or in vertical orientation 4x5. Because when you're thinking about the mobile experience, shooting square or shooting from a vertical orientation, it's going to take up more real estate in the feed, as opposed to a traditional 16:9, which is great for television, but it's not ideally suited for the digital space. So, you could have all these great, 4K cameras or whatever you're shooting on, but if you're not thinking about how that video is going to play out on a digital screen, then you're already kind of shooting yourself in one of your feet, before you're even getting started there.
What about promotion? Because this is like the world's biggest question, which is how do I promote myself? So I saw your videos and they're usually less than, I saw like a minute and a half to, that's actually very good. So we've made 4 30-second clips that I'm very proud of as at Goshman and Comic Sans, our wonderful company.
Right.
And now
it's got $1 billion valuation.
Exactly. We're using blockchain. My biggest joke this South by Southwest is that I'm going to go on a stage and at a pitch competition and just scream blockchain until they give me money.
Right.
I think it's going to work.
I think I might just get a tattoo that just says blockchain on it.
Exactly. Just multiple times. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Blockchain and machine learning.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Small pet peeve. Every application uses tech. I don't understand why people say that them using machine learning is a benefit in their thing. Which is like, we're a machine learning platform that does this. Just tell me what you do. Anyway, that's something very different. Okay, so we're about to promote. Well, how do we start thinking about promotion?
Sure. Again, you think about your audience.
Where they are, who they are,
exactly. So we're targeting men 23 to 35, living in cities with more than 150,000 people. Is that just U.S. based? Is that international? They also have an income level of a certain amount. So when you're looking at, we'll start on Facebook because it is, from a social media standpoint, probably your best and most robust campaign platform. And obviously if you're, when you're doing Facebook and the ads manager, you can also do Instagram as well. So you have your 4, 30-second videos. Okay, cool. So how long are we looking to run this campaign as well? Is this something that, in Facebook, you have, I think, 9 or 10 different objectives, whether it's, convert people to your website, awareness campaigns, and they really break it out, and I think they do a very good job in terms of, okay, what is your objective? Yeah. Are you just looking to get video views? Are you just looking to get reach? Are you trying to get people to download your app or visit your website or whatever it may be? So choose your objective there. It's almost like reading a choose your adventure book. Yes. Like
in which you put money in constantly.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's say we want people to go to our website. So you would choose your objective in Facebook. You would obviously name your campaign. So then you're looking at targeting your specific audience. Okay, I'm looking to target men 23 to 35 in these cities. And then you can get into detailed targeting in terms of, okay, they're interested in fashion, fashion, and they have all of these different detailed targeting metrics. You might type something in there and it might pop up, but you're looking at how many people approximately are connected to pages or other brands or content along those lines. So you want to make sure that you don't have an audience that's too broad, but you also don't necessarily want to have an audience that's too specific. Maybe in the beginning, if you're just starting a company, you want that broad audience. You're trying to cast a wide enough audience.
And test.
And do your A/B testing. So, you have that content and maybe you're testing 2 videos with the same campaign, and you're just, okay, which one is performing better? You split the difference in terms of, like, let's say I'm spending $2,500 on one video. Maybe you do $1,250 on one video, $1,250 on another video. Which one's performing better after a couple of days? Okay, I'm going to put my money towards the video that's performing better. It has a lower cost per result. So you're doing that on Facebook. You also have the opportunity to do that on Instagram. With Instagram, you can have videos that's more than a minute. So 30 seconds falls under that category as well. And
math.
Do the math.
Yes.
But Facebook will also say, Instagram videos can't be more than 60 seconds. You want to make sure that you have a stop image that doesn't have any text on it. Little known fact. So if you're advertising on Instagram or on Facebook and your stop image has text on it, Facebook will actually decrease the reach of your ad. So just have a thumbnail image with 0 text on it, 0 non-naturally occurring letters, numbers, alphanumeric characters, special characters, or anything along those lines. So, pro tip for those of us watching and listening out there.
Boom, I like how you looked at the camera.
Yes.
I loved it.
So, you do all that, and then you're putting your content out there. Then you're looking at your cost per result. Typically, you don't want to have a very high cost per result. What does that mean? If you're doing something with video and you're targeting correctly, you're probably looking at a cost per result and maybe a few pennies or fractions of a penny. You might have a $1,000 spend or several $1,000s spent, or maybe tens of thousands, whatever it may be. If you have a very low cost per result, that means that your content is good, your targeting is good, and then also that you're spending your allotted budget. So if you're noticing that you're doing paid campaigns and you're not hitting like your total budget allocation, then there's something wrong with the content. And you just need to go back and reevaluate that and remake it. Or maybe you look back at your targeting and maybe it was too specific. Because if you're doing a very wide and a broad range, when you're doing advertisements on Facebook, it'll give you kind of a little range. It's like red, yellow, green. So the red is going to be too narrow. Green is, I think, you're perfect. And then I think the yellow is like, too broad or whatever. I'm trying to remember.
And like Facebook has such we can watch like 5-6 videos on hour-long videos on Facebook ads.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, you're going through and looking at all that detailed targeting. And you can even target, people who like your competitors and their pages as well. You can do some guerrilla kind of marketing. It's just like, oh, you're interested in, Bonobus or, Brooks Brothers or, I don't know what shirts, if we're doing dress shirts or T-shirts or, you can look at those other companies and you can target, people who already like those pages to also, do brand awareness as well.
And this has been great, by the way. I've learned a lot. And I do want to stress that to people listening, that video strategy is just one part of the whole thing. If we for Gosh Man and Comic Sans have a great video strategy and they come to our website and it's a terrible experience, no one's going to buy it. If we have something like a free offer, hey, get 10%, and we never email them or we email them too much, they're never going to buy.
Right.
If they look at our Instagram video and say, oh, that's cool, I'm not going to buy right now, but I'm going to follow these guys or like their page. If we don't keep on following with content, whatever kind of content it is, they're not going to buy. This is just one part of your whole branding thing.
Absolutely. It's the click, then the stick. Like, you got people to click to your website. I stole that from my boss, actually. He used to use it for a while. So
click and stick.
Yeah, the click, then the stick. So you got them to click to your website, but to your point exactly, if you have a very poor user experience on the website, you're probably losing that opportunity to convert that customer. And also to your point, from an email marketing strategy or, whatever that may be, if you're spamming people with that, they're like, I'm just going to unsubscribe. And you've lost that opportunity to convert somebody. So, it's a pendulum. Sometimes it's going to swing too far and you got to, bring it back. And you're always trying to get that sweet spot, and it may never be perfect, and that's okay. But as long as you're constantly watching, and where you guys are and, where you want to be, and you're making little small adjustments and tweaks along the way, you have a greater likelihood of success,
Absolutely.
by just merging all of these different ways to be effective and to reach people in a way that's meaningful, that's actionable.
Absolutely. I saw that a lot with my email list, how much of my personality I could put, and I realized just the stupidest things I could say and actually talk to them like people, that really helped. I got the most replies that way. Or when I did live videos, I could see, oh, these people actually give a shit now that I'm not being a whole corporate robot.
Yeah, it's not that you're selling them. You're just being a person that they can relate to. You're just having that conversation. And I think that's very key for any brand. Obviously you want people to buy your product. So basically you make money and you can make more of it and you can grow as a company. But you have to understand that, again, we're all people, and it's just having that conversation. We've probably been to many marketing sessions, and again, word of mouth is still the strongest form of advertising because it's a conversation. It's not, hi, I'm Gosh Man at Comic Sans. Buy 3 shirts for $99. Thanks. Bye. It's like anybody can do that. Yes. So again, it's about having that conversation and making people feel empowered and valued, and getting their input, and how can we make things better, or all of the different surveys, not having bad surveys, and providing a good customer experience, and just understanding, again, if we're reaching men 23 to 35, how do guys like us talk? Being in that space, doing a little bit of market research in terms of, maybe we're in a couple different cities, and maybe we just go into a couple competing type, if they have, brick and mortar shops. Going in, talking to the people that work there, why do you work here? Why do you like this company? What interests you about this? And you're not identifying yourself, but you're just doing market research. Yeah. And you take that knowledge and, again, doing your SWOT, and you help tweak your campaign and your content strategy based off of that. Yeah.
How do people follow you on social media and Circa?
Okay, so Circa.com is our primary website. We also have our app, Circa News, both on Google Play and the Apple Store as well.
The other thing that people have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then obviously, Circa on Facebook, Circa on Twitter, Circa Snap on Snapchat, Circa News on YouTube, on iTunes for our podcast as well, Circa News. It's basically just, when you think about Circa, it's we're a brand that competes with Vice News and BuzzFeed News and Mike and Vox. And, while those brands have been around for a little bit longer than us, we're, competing in that space with them, especially on social. We're very much that scrappy insurgency. It started out as this wonderful app that was, one of the most popular apps on the Apple Store. And, unfortunately, all this great technology and sourced and curated content, they just unfortunately ran out of funding. And, my parent company bought it over, and, we've relaunched and gone through a couple different rebrands. But the main thing is, Circa is a place where people can come and find great video content and news about whether it's general news, lifestyle, culture, food, sex and relationships, travel, you name it. We want to be able to provide them an experience. And, other brands, they have their own experience that they provide. And, for us, it's about, understanding the data. Okay, cool. Who is our audience? What are they looking to do? They're interested in food, dogs, and travel. Basically, it's like a dating app. Yeah. If you look at every single, must love dogs, food, and travel. Okay, cool.
Yes. And good conversations and laughs.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, sense of humor is a plus.
Yeah.
So, you must be above 6 feet if you're a guy.
We should have a conversation about. Okay, keep going.
No, it's just it's just kind of funny when you're looking at different dating apps and profiles. So.
Oh, so how about you personally? How do we find you on Twitter and everything
sure.
else?
So Trausneck, Trausneck on Twitter, on Instagram and Snap as well. It's very nice having a very odd last name.
Yes.
Because you can basically just do your last name and everything else. I have a couple, like, maybe second, third cousins out there as well that also share the last name. I know we're related somehow. Because there's not many of us. So we must have, like, an uncle twice removed or a grandfather somewhere along the lines. But, Dave Trausneck, head of video content and social media strategy at Circa.com.
Boom. Dave, I'm so glad I went to the Fogo de Chao on Saturday or whatever day we met, and then came to that bar later on. And
likewise, Moby.
Absolutely,
I'm glad I wore the hat. So,
I'm so glad we did.
I was just like, should I bring it to Austin? Yeah. Is it too over the top to do that in Austin? But I was just like, no. I've seen other people wearing plenty of other people wearing hats as well. So
I think you should keep it.
Yeah, exactly. It works.
Yeah, exactly.
The hat plays. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.